I grew up, I would say, very differently from any of my peers. My father, like his father, got diagnosed with esophagus cancer. I was 13 when my father passed. He passed at home, and I watched that decline. That was obviously the most brutal thing, or the toughest thing I've ever been through. The guy that became my stepbrother, he was like, well, you're 13, so you're now going to work every day for the rest of your life. I wasn't in school. I was out in the field digging ditches, then pulling wire. You just kind of became a slave to the machine. So I went to the career fair and got hired by Harvey Builder, and I was managing 11 floors. I want the promotion. I want to be a PM. My boss's boss walks into the review, opens the meeting with, well, you're not getting a promotion. So I jumped ships when we did $1 million in revenue year one. It was growing fast, and we want to go to a $40 million company in the next couple of years. And everything I've done in my life has sort of been grassroots. I'm resilient and I work hard, and that's all I know.
Mr. Will Carter, how are you today?
Howdy. I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on the podcast. I told you this morning I wore my only, country shirt that I own.
Everybody needs one.
Yeah. I was like, how could I, I don't have my cowboy hat. I don't think I have one, but rodeo season is here, and I need to, now that I've been in Texas for 8 years, I think I need a little bit country.
It's time for a cowboy hat. Yeah, boots.
I have boots.
You gotta have boots.
I have
cowboy
boots.
Hat. The rodeo is a good place to spend way too much money on something like that, but it's just kind of convenient.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I don't know much about you. I met you just a few weeks ago, but I remember meeting you, and I thought, I need to have this guy on the podcast because you seemed really interesting, but I couldn't crack what was behind the suit. And funny enough, I just looked you up on Instagram, and I'm like, he's got a country band. Like, that is crazy. I would have never thought. And so I was right in the sense that there was a lot more layers to you. So would love to kind of get into it. I want to know about your childhood and your background, because you've mentioned a little bit about it, but I would love to just hear more about your story.
Yeah, I grew up, I would say, very differently from any of my peers. So my father lost his father to cancer when he was 11, and his father worked. So he didn't really know him that well, right? And so it was always his dream to have a whole bunch of, and he was an only child. So his dream was the complete opposite. He wanted to have a whole bunch of kids and live on land, and live off the land, And so he and my mom got married, and they bought 13 acres out in just south of Sealy. So a little community called Friedeck. And that 13 acres happens to back up to 12,000 acres of government owned land that spans from there all the way to Wallace. And anyway, it's this huge piece of government owned land that local farmers lease different chunks of it to either raise cattle or farm. So there's milo and cotton and corn, depending on the season. And then their vision was, again, to live off the land and have a bunch of kids. So they had 4. I'm the oldest, and we were all homeschooled. And so my sort of daily regimen, if you will, was to get up in the morning and milk goats. We had at one time, a dozen milk goats. We had an 1.5 acre garden. We had chickens, we had sheep, we had cows, we had horses. Tons of
full
dogs.
Farm life.
Yeah, full farm life, fruit trees, the whole nine. So I would get up in the morning and spend, a couple hours, milking goats, feeding animals, whatever. And then I was homeschooled. So then we would come in and, do our schoolwork for several hours. And then, early afternoon or whatever, when we were done with that, I was in the woods, again, I had a 12,000 acre backyard, and I didn't have gaming consoles. I wasn't really even allowed to hang out in the house, nor did I want to. But we had a pond on our property. Our neighbors had huge 7 acre lakes that were stocked with fish. I was hunting or fishing or just running around in the woods on a horse.
Sounds like such a cool kind of childhood, only that you see in the movies,
right?
With the birds chirping.
So I didn't know, my cousins, my friends, they were always coming over to our place, because we had this big, sort of outdoor playground, if you will. And it wasn't until, honestly, I was in college that I realized that wasn't the norm. It's just that's what I knew, right?
What did your dad do for a living?
So when my parents met, he sold real estate, and that's how they met. He sold a piece of property not far from where we ended up purchasing that property to her parents. And her father was in oil and gas sales, so he traveled a lot, but did well. And so they bought a little farm out there, and then he later did the same thing. And so that's how they met. And then after that, so I guess it was in the mid to late 80s or whatever, when the real estate market, everything economy kind of took a little nosedive. And at that point, he bought a concrete company that he had for a little while. And honestly, that didn't really work out too well. But he still had some of the equipment left over from that. So he really just did whatever to make money. I mean, we lived off the land, literally. I mean, we had an 1.5 acre garden and all of the livestock and all that. So we really just went to the store and bought, we paid for like electricity, and went to the store and bought, paper towels and things like that. Right. But we were pretty self-sustaining, but we also had some property in town where he still had some of the equipment. He would mine topsoil off and sell to the local concrete company. So we got some revenue that way. We owned a dry cleaners in town in Sealy called Hometown Cleaners.
Wow.
So that was
he was running it?
And he and my mom ran it.
Okay. So entrepreneurship was not necessarily like the first time you got into it.
No. So he was definitely, as long as I knew him, he always worked for himself. And I was homeschooled. And so we spent a lot of time together. I mean,
that's
we were
so cool.
Very, very close. And of course, he coached all my baseball teams growing up. I was into boxing. And so he, I was into music. I mean, we literally would have, $100 to our family name, 4 kids. And I would want to go perform at some talent contest, halfway across the state. And he'd find a way to get me there and all that.
Actually, I was going to ask you about that. Were you into music even when you were younger? Like, did you have a guitar?
So my dad was 6'4", 250 pounds, and I'm not.
Yeah.
My mom,
he got the good genes.
My mom is 5'3" and weighs like 105 pounds, so on maybe soaking wet. But she's beautiful and she's a fantastic mom. But I got kind of somewhere in the middle. I've got some height, but I'm not going to be a football player.
Yeah.
But that was his thought was, have your kids go,
do sports,
do sports. Right. And, try to be athletes or whatever. And, I guess Patrick Swayze did. A lot of people will put their kids in dance and gymnastics at a very early age. In fact, I have my son and my daughter in gymnastics at 3 months.
Wow. Okay. I didn't know that. Is it just to kind of get them into
agility and balance?
Agility and balance.
Agility and balance. So I was in tap, jazz, and ballet at the age of 3 until the age of 8. So for 5 years. And I did gymnastics as well for that specifically to learn agility and balance so that I'd be a better athlete. That was that and the
dream and aspiration for you.
Yeah, they were great parents. Like they wanted to do whatever they could to give their kids the best edge. And I remember I barely remember, but I was 3 years old. And the studio that I was with was sort of putting on the Sealy Fantasy of Lights Festival. It's an annual festival they do in Sealy. And they needed someone to say the Pledge of Allegiance and sing the Grand Old Flag to kind of kick off the festival. And I was the only guy in, tap, jazz, and ballet, right? So
yeah, there's never more than one kid. Yeah.
Which is actually not a bad thing. But so anyway, I got chosen. I don't really know why or how, but I did. And I remember being in our house and my mom teaching me the words to the Grand Old Flag. And so I got up there and I performed. I said the Pledge of Allegiance. I sang the song to kind of kick off
And that was like your first time performing.
That was the first time performing, and
okay.
I guess maybe I was always into music. I was only 3, so how into it could I have been? But I know that from that point forward, I was always into it. I had a karaoke machine, a little small PA in my room. I mean, every night from as far back as I can remember until I graduated high school. Honestly, I would at the end of the day I would be in my room playing guitar or singing for a couple hours. That's just what I did at night, every single night.
Wow. And so they were like, he's not going to be a football player, but he may be
I stopped growing,
a music artist.
So they realized maybe music was more my thing.
So I remember you mentioned you were the first in your family to go to college. How did that work after you finish homeschooling? How does that transition work into, regular life?
Yeah,
or how was going to school with a bunch of kids all of a sudden?
I would say it wasn't a big deal for me because, like I said, I played sports from the time I was 6. So I was always on a baseball team. I was in gymnastics. I was in things and then I had like a lot of cousins that are close to my age. We have a big family. So I was always around kids and stuff because the hardest part about that transition is the social aspect. Yeah. Right. And I had a lot of friends. I did a lot of stuff, so that wasn't as big of a deal for me. But my father, like his father, got diagnosed with esophagus cancer when he was 38 or 39. So his father passed. His father was 40 when he passed. And my father actually was diagnosed with the same exact cancer, esophagus cancer, when he was 38 or 39 and passed at 41. My dad was 11 when his father passed. I was 13 when my father passed, right? So at that point, my mother then, I was a friend of his that was kind of helping take care of us. And he owned a small electrical company, a commercial electrical company. And then later he and my mom got married. But when my father passed, we all ended up then going to public school. So I was in 8th grade at the time.
Okay.
And so, but I had already had, a lot of friends when I got there because we played sports and stuff forever. I would say it was probably a little bit harder for, like my sister, just because she didn't play sports and stuff like that. So there was probably a little bit more of a learning curve, because there definitely is a learning curve, right? Associated with specifically the social piece. But really it didn't faze me that much, because I kind of was already, I already kind of had my group when I got there, if you will. And then on top of that, we moved to Katy from Sealy after one semester. Our house burned down.
Oh my gosh.
Lost father, house burns down all in 1 year. Started public school, did a semester in Sealy, and then we all moved to Katy, lived with my grandmother in Katy for a few months while we were wrapping up that semester and purchasing a house in Katy. It was a wild year. That was 2000. It was a wild year.
And you were 13.
Yeah.
That's a lot for a 13-year-old.
That, and then, we didn't have health insurance. We didn't have any money. 4 kids. My mom had only ever been a mom. And so watching my parents financially as well, but more so just watching your family and your parents, your father go through cancer, and not having the means to be able to go to MD Anderson or something right like that. So it was literally, he passed at home, and I watched that decline. And that was obviously the most brutal thing, or the toughest thing I've ever been through, as anyone would say. But also I feel like I was exceptionally close to my father, just because he was, entrepreneurial, worked for himself. I was homeschooled. We were just always together. We were always home, or I would go to work with him, whatever. So we were kind of joined at the hip. So it was, that was a very, very tough year for a lot of reasons. Life changes. What
about the fact as well that you're the oldest out of 4? Are you the only boy?
So there's 2 girls in the middle, and then, so I have a sister that's 1.5 years younger than me, another sister that's 7 years younger than me, and then a brother that's 9 years younger than me, who's autistic. So he's kind of like a 2 or 3-year-old that never grew up. Yeah. You know what I mean? So
just, that's a lot of responsibility on you as a 13-year-old. I would assume that you kind of saw, like, I need to take over being a father figure for your siblings, especially because they were a lot younger.
Especially the younger ones. But yes. And my mom did remarry, but I still remember the guy that became my stepfather. He was like, well, on my 13th birthday, he's like, well, you're 13. So you're now going to work every day for the rest of your life. And I literally went to work. I wasn't in school. I was in work. So I didn't get spring breaks and Christmas breaks and summer breaks off. I was working, and I worked for his electric company, which is obviously kind of how the construction thing came together. But I was out in the field. Well, started digging ditches, then pulling wire, and then. So would
you say after you guys moved to Katy and kind of that life-changing event, you guys no longer returned to the farmland, which is kind of like how you grew up, right? Or did you
still have the property?
You still do. Okay, I thought like all of that kind of went away, and then the farm.
We sold the animals and that kind of thing. So there's not a farm anymore now. It's a piece of property.
Okay.
And now, literally specifically now, I have 3 shipping containers out there that I keep my 4-wheelers and dirt bikes and side-by-sides in, and I take, because I want to, the way I grew up is very tough to replicate.
Yes.
And I think that is a huge piece of me, right? That's definitely what's given me the grit, it's the work ethic, the values that I have.
Yeah.
And I want that for my children. And I don't think that the public school system is going to give that to them.
Yeah.
And even unfortunately their friends that they're going to grow up with, in this new environment, it's not going to instill those same values. So I'm currently battling with that. My son is 2, so I've got a little bit of time to try to get this figured out. But what I do for now is I take him, and now I have a little girl that's 9 months. She goes 2 now. We go out there several times a month.
Kind of teach them as much as you can.
Yeah, kind of show them how I grew up and
so
talk
cool.
to them. And again, they're still young, but just kind of getting them used to that. And then, my goal is to eventually, build probably several houses out there, so that my sister and her kids can have one, and my mom can have one.
The whole family's still together.
Airbnb it, whatever. When we're not out there, and so we have a place to hang out. That's definitely on 3 to 5 year plan, if you will. But
that's really cool. I love that. So I think a lot of these things in your childhood really shapes you. And I think like, how old are you?
39.
Okay. I was going to say we're similar ages in the 30s. For me, a lot of things that happen in childhood, I feel like your 30s is when all of this starts to come out. I don't know if you noticed that at all, where it's like, whoa, like, and especially when you have kids and then all of these things that shaped you, your subconscious mind, like all of these things that we were taught at a young age, it's like, whoa, it's who we are. This is why we work so hard, like all of these things. And so it's been really interesting. I can't imagine at 13 having to go through all of that. But, you know, on the positive side, it's like what makes you who you are today. And without all of that, you know, you wouldn't be Will Carter today.
The story
and
would
that
be
would
completely
suck.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it is interesting. I remember, so I did, I was a good student. My mom runs a tight ship and she was my teacher.
Yeah.
So when I went to public school, I actually tested out of the grade I was in. I was supposed to move up, but for sports and scholarships and for a lot of reasons, I didn't do that. I stayed back. And it was also my parents, stepfather and mom at the time were like, you know, for that transition of all that was going on that year, like, let's take it a little slow, right? So I just stayed with, and plus my friends were in that grade and all that. But I mean, high school, I went to Katy, I ended up graduating from Katy High School, and it was just kind of a joke. I mean, I graduated with basically a 4.0 and didn't try, right?
Yeah.
So I did real well academically, and the majority, I mean, I got that from the homeschooling. Like that's where it came from. And so then when I applied to college, I actually at the same time had gone, a friend of mine lived in Belleville, and there's a little town called Kinney in the middle. And there was this band that would play out there, and he's like, hey man, this band plays out here and their singer never shows up. And they're just kind of come out here and goof around sometimes when they're not actually performing. You should come out. So I went out there. It turned out the drummer was a light guy for a big dance hall band called The Emotions. And The Emotions is a band that's out of Shiner, Texas. It's been around since like the late 70s. And they play whatever's kind of popular, which at that time and probably still now is, you know, contemporary country and top 40, right? And so he said, hey man, we're losing our lead singer. He's moving to Nashville, taking a deal. Can you want to come audition? And I was like, sure. You know, I grew up kind of idolizing The Emotions. That's what we did out west, small town. That's what people did on the weekends. We went and saw The Emotions wherever they were playing. And it's usually a Casey Hall or an American Legion Hall or a festival or whatever. So I went and I auditioned, and, you know, I'd always sing country. And they said, okay, here's your 3 songs. It's going to be Live Like You're Dying by Tim McGraw, which is a big high note that sustained in the end. I figured that was what they were looking for. Big Time by Big and Rich. Obviously they wanted to see if we could harmonize. And Yeah by Usher. And I went, what, by who?
Yeah, by Usher. Yeah. That's interesting.
I didn't know who Usher was at the time.
I loved Usher at the time.
Well, that was a great song too, but I didn't know it at the time. So I had to learn that. And I had to do the ludicrous rap part.
That is funny.
And then because the other singer in the band, there was 3 singers, a female and 2 males, and the others were, they were in their 30s or maybe even 40s, and I was 18, 19. And so they would give all of if it was rap or top 40 hip hop kind of stuff to me, because it seemed more natural for me to be doing it than them. So I actually learned how to rap really well.
Really?
Interestingly enough. And then anyway, I auditioned for this band and I get hired by it. And
this is right when you're about to select college?
I'm right about to, I'm about a few weeks away from graduating high school.
What was your mom's thought on that?
So I came to them and told them, hey, you know, I got the part if I want it. And they're like, well, and I also got accepted to A&M.
Yeah, that's a tough choice between
right.
both.
And I was like, I don't know what to do. And they're like, well, you've been singing for an hour plus every night in your room for, you know,
your whole life.
15 years. So your whole life. And that's obviously your passion. And I played, you know, anywhere I could. I did talent contests. But I performed on the weekends, for money since I was 13. I mean, I would PA system and I'd play wherever, if it was a bar or a party or whatever it was. So they said, well, we'll support you either way. Honestly, you can go play for the band and you can work for the construction company during the week and do that on the weekends because they play, you know, Friday, Saturdays, or you can go to college and we'll help you, support you with that. Cause I got a scholarship because A&M gives you a Regents scholarship if you're the first person in your family to go to a state, you know, for your school. So I had a scholarship which covered most of tuition and stuff like that. And then also my mother's father had set up a college fund for his grandkids. So books and tuition was going to get covered, right? I just had to figure out how to, room and board basically. And they said, we'll help you with that, but you can't do both because we know how music is your passion. That's going to be a distraction, right?
Yeah.
So, and honestly, we think you should take the music deal. And so
really, they pushed you into the music deal.
The music deal, yeah. They're like, we know that's your
interesting.
passion.
I feel like most parents would be like, get that degree.
Right.
Who knows where this music thing's gonna go? It takes so much to become famous or to like music is so hard,
it's such a dice roll.
So it's like just go get a degree. But I'm happy that they pushed you to music because I tell people now with their kids, especially, it's like if they have a passion and they're young, just try it out. Like go to Hollywood with them. Go take them to auditions. Like, the chances are low, but who knows?
Right.
And if this doesn't work out, guess what? They can go be like everybody else and go get a degree.
You can still go get the degree.
But so many parents I see, they just shut down so many little kids' ambitions about what they want to do because we're just so structured and you got to go to school. You got to be a doctor, an engineer, a lawyer, like the typical. But that's interesting that your parents at that time were like, just do music.
Hopefully that is the old school way of thinking because you can absolutely go to college or even, I mean, now I did go to college, right? And it was a big thing, and it worked out well for me. But if my kids don't want to go, I'm not pushing it. In fact, I have a daughter, we hadn't even touched on this piece, but I have a daughter that I met when she was 6 who came to live with me full time when she was 14 or so, 15 maybe. And she's 21 now. She just got married and she's doing midwife school. She's not going to a 4-year deal.
Yeah.
Of course, I told her, hey, you should go to A&M.
Yeah.
But, trade schools and things are, I think, just as good, if not a better option if you know what you want to do. But yeah, hopefully it's at kind of an old school way of thinking and we see less of that because if your kid does want to do acting or modeling or singing or whatever, they need to do it when they're young. Like you can go back to school, you can go back to a trade school, you can go get a job.
Agree.
You can't go back and be whatever, you can't necessarily a model or whatever, once you're 40, you might have missed the window. So, and what's, I don't know.
I mean, how I see it, because, I do have conversations like this with a lot of parents who are already thinking their kids are going to, the typical, they're going to go to this school and we're saving money for college and all this stuff. And Tim and I were like on complete opposite sides, even the school that Sky goes to. I don't know if you've ever heard of Waldorf education.
I've heard of it.
It's very woo-woo in a way, but like they just play all day. She doesn't know the alphabet or letters and she's like 4.5, which some kids are reading at this age. She doesn't know the alphabet, but we don't care in the sense of like the traditional education. We're like, you're 4.5. We don't care if you know how to read a sentence, but how are you as a human? How are you interacting with other people? And so a lot of the school is like, they're outside all day. They garden, they know how to make bread. So it's like on a different side.
That's pretty cool.
And then when people ask about college, I'm like, honestly, the future is going to look so different in 18 to 20 years that
oh my goodness, yes.
Like a degree won't even, like in my opinion, like won't even matter.
It might not at all.
Who knows? Like AI.
Might not even exist,
so
right?
It's like, why are we pushing kids still into how we grew up and how we went to school and all that? And so it's like, we're like, if she doesn't go to college, we don't care. We actually hope she doesn't. And we hope she could be more creative and be an entrepreneur or something. Yeah, but who knows? At the end of the day, it's like, what makes your kids happy? That's what you want. Sure. But
I love that.
So many people are so scared, when it comes to education.
No, I love that. Yeah, she's how old?
4.5.
And that's
our only daughter, Sky. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just kind of riding the wave, right? Like, cause like you said, AI, like our whole world is going to be so different in probably just a few years. Right. So and with my I call it my second set of kids, I guess, right? Cause I've got the 21-year-old and then I've got the 2 and the 9-month and probably about to have another one this year. So my wife and I, specifically me, I think her as well, and she's got to do the hard work. She gets the final call, but we're probably going to have somewhere between 4 and 6, the 2 of us. Right?
Wow!
I have another daughter as well. So because I
big family,
I love kids. Yeah. But to your point, like we don't know what the future is going to hold, so there's no reason to get too too stuck on one thought, right? And I love the idea of the focusing more on you as a person. Emotional intelligence, that kind of thing, because those are skills you're going to need no matter how the world looks, right? Yeah. We can figure out what to do for money. And of course, I'm obviously going to push for the entrepreneurial thing just because that's kind of how I grew up with both my father and my stepfather and myself.
And yourself. Yeah, so that's actually something I want to get into. So You graduated A&M. What did you actually study?
Construction science, and I got a minor in business on purpose.
Construction science. And the construction side came because you were working at the electrical company.
So another little sidebar, I built my first computer when I was 9. And I was all into technology, right?
I need to homeschool my daughter. That's what I've realized after this podcast.
Well, I grew up on
you guys
farm.
are too smart.
I think you know how kids are, like, and I was very curious. But growing up on a farm and seeing that, I was mesmerized by computers, right? Because that was something completely different. And there was a guy, there is a guy that's a family friend of ours who he's electronic guru. That's his deal, right? So that's how I got into that. And so I built my first computer when I was 9. I built many more after that. And that was just my thing. I was all into them. And then for a little stint, I worked for an electronic refurbishing company for a few years. And so when I got accepted in him, I actually got accepted into the ETID program, which is electronic technology. And because I wanted to go into electronics engineering. And we went to the first you go visit the school and talk to people in your department or day or whatever. And it was a small, so it was just me and I think maybe like the department head. And then he had some grad students come talk to us or graduating students come talk to us about what their experience was like. And they're talking about how they design these remote control cars that measure the temperature and the ambient light in the room and all this kind of stuff. And they were at the school until, midnight every night for months trying to do this projects and stuff. And my stepdad's sitting there going, man, you partied way too hard in high school. You're not going to make it. I'm like, thanks. And he goes, also, you grew up on the farm and you love all of this fishing and outdoor stuff and whatever and hunting.
You're going to go into this room and just code all day.
This is not you, man. And so he goes, you need to do wildlife and fishery sciences and be a game warden. And I was like, okay, like, I don't know what I'm doing. He's paying for most of this, right? So I changed majors like before I even started and went and did wildlife and fishery sciences. And there we had a Friday class for 1 hour, a 1 hour class where they would bring in somebody every week that would talk about their life with this degree. Right. And it was all, I never got a job, or now I work at a used car salesperson, or I make $20,000 a year as a fish farmer. I was like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Like I could probably go work. I don't know. I could find a way to make 20 grand a year and not going here and spending $100,000.
Yeah. To get this degree.
So I then just kind of started changing majors, and I went on this like mission to figure out, okay, what am I going to do? And I interviewed a bunch of people.
Was there any point in that transition of like degrees and different things that you were like, I'm just going to go do music? Like, I know that that's something I've wanted to do.
Well, so again, I chose to do music, right, over going to school, right? When my parents said you got two options. So I chose the music thing, and I toured for about a year. And it was awesome. We had an 18-wheeler that pulled, big screens and light shows and all video and this whole deal. And everything was wireless headset, wireless guitar, wireless in-ear monitors.
You were living like your best life for that year.
Rockstar,
wow.
Right? And we were the Emotions. So, I was the new lead singer of the Emotions. In fact, I was dating a girl who went to her cousin's house. And got to her cousin's house and saw her computer, and the desktop for her computer was my picture.
No way.
What is that? She's like, oh, that's the new singer for the Emotions. Like, that's my boyfriend.
Wow.
So I got to live the celebrity life, and it was fun for a little bit. But everybody else, then, that was Friday and Saturday. And then Monday through Thursday, I was working as an electrician for 30, 40, whatever it was, $1,000 a year. And not only that, I was working during the week, and then I was playing on the weekends. And so while my friends were going to float the river, I wasn't, you know what I mean? Like that's all I did. And it got old after a while. And the other piece of that really got old was playing cover music. Like as an artist, you don't want to play cover music. You want to play your music.
Yes.
And so
especially if you're into like songwriting and making your own music and all that stuff, that would be
and maybe,
difficult.
Yeah, maybe that's right. Maybe that's a personal thing. But I remember being at some of the guys that had, one of the guys left, there's always two or three singers, and one of them went to Nashville and signed a deal, like a publishing deal, and I took his spot. And then the other guy left to start or join this original project called the Badlands. And so that's what they did. They recorded their own music, and they toured and they played their own stuff. He came back to like a big Christmas show or something that we were performing, and I was just talking to him like, so how do you like it? You did this for a couple years, and then now you're doing that. He's like, it's so much better. He's like, I'm playing my own music, I'm doing my own thing. I get to be in control of what and when and where and how, and I just like it a lot better. So I think it more aligns with quarterly entrepreneurial thing.
Yeah. Again, of like that freedom piece of
Yeah.
choosing.
Right. It's, obviously everybody's heard this, but like you sign a record deal and they're going to tell you how to dress and what to say and what to do and when
Yeah.
to play and where and when, and that's kind of getting ahead of myself here, but like I started a record label so I could control all those pieces, right? I've got my own record label and I choose I hire a booking agent, but I get to accept or not accept the gig, you know what I mean? And the terms
That's
and
cool.
all that kind of stuff.
I think a lot of it is just tied to freedom. Like you want to have the choice. You don't want to be told what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of entrepreneurs is that you just cannot have a boss to tell you what to do or how to design something or how to build something,
If it's your passion and it becomes a job, it no longer is a passion. And I think I learned some of that touring with the Emotions. It was, we were playing the same set list of other people's music at the same handful of venues. And you just kind of became a slave to the machine. Yeah. And you didn't have, and you didn't have the control of it. It's just kind of crushes the creative side of it. Yeah. Right. And it's tough because when you think creative side of the brain, it's different than the entrepreneurial, sort of structure. You got to have that structure and you have to run it like a business. So it's a tough balance, especially to handle both sides. But I don't know, for me, that got old. And
so is that when you decided to actually go to A&M?
I said, I'm going to college.
Okay.
I'm going to just hang this up and go to college because everybody else in the band had a 6-figure job during the week and then they were doing this for fun. So I'm like,
you were still building your life because you were the youngest.
And I'm broke. And I was like, so I at least need to get that done and then maybe do this and do, kind of do what they're doing. So that's when I went to school and then kind of interview people. And when I was just talking to people and interviewing, one of the most interesting professions I interviewed so many trying to figure out what to do while I was there. I was like, man, I'm taking basics, but I got like a year and a half before I got to figure out what I'm doing. And talking to college professors was one of the most interesting ones. They're like, man, we get summers off. They can make 6 figures, decent money. Obviously benefits are fantastic. We get summers off and we get to, teach something that we love. And like, they were the happiest of everybody I talked to. And I thought that was interesting. Not really my thing, but I thought that was interesting. I ultimately landed on the construction science program because, well, for one, this is kind of funny, but it didn't require organic chemistry to graduate. And that was just like a kryptonite for me. So that was a plus. But that program at A&M, that one in Purdue are always top 1 or 2 in the country for construction science. They were talking almost, if not 100% job placement on graduation. And keep in mind, I was class of 2009 when the economy was in the tank again in 2008. It didn't come out of it until about 2011. Yes. And I was graduating in 2011 because I took the year off and whatever, changed majors 5 times, and got the business minor. And my resume had 10 years of commercial, electrical experience on it. So it just kind of,
it made sense.
Logically, it all aligned. And so I did get the business minor partially because you had to take some of those classes anyway, but also it was a thought of mine that I was always going to, potentially at some point I was going to work for myself. Right. So I went to the career fair and got hired by Harvey Builders. They're probably they're the largest general contractor in Houston. Great firm. I got a fantastic education there because like everybody else, they laid a bunch of people off in 2008. And
now they need all the young kids coming out of college.
And I was the first hire in 3 years.
Oh, wow.
I was the first hire. And so the best team was the first one that got approved to go hire. So I got put on the best team.
Good team, yeah.
And I got fantastic training. I had a fantastic boss.
Did they move you to Houston? Is that where you came? Or where was their office out of?
They were in Houston, yeah. But I mean, I was in college and then my family lived in Katy.
Oh, okay. So you were here.
I ended up renting a house right between Katy and Houston and going there. And so I never kind of really left Katy. Okay. Still haven't. Now I bought a house in Katy. Yeah. So I'm there. But went there and got some really good training.
How long were you there for?
I was only there for maybe 3 years, 2.5, 3 years.
Before you started the company?
No, they had a checklist. I'm a high achiever. They had a checklist on the wall. When you do these things, I was hired on as assistant project manager. When you know how to do these things, I love this. It's a growth plan, right? When you know how to do these things, you can be a PM. So I printed that out day one and I checked off as I learned or mastered each of these skills. Yeah. And I got to the point where I had checked off all the things and I was managing 11 floors, mostly on my own in the Woodlands. In fact, I was then grabbed by another team to come run a project with my boss. And then they got sideways with my boss, kicked my boss out of the deal. And it was just me. And then that guy that sold these 3 projects went to a different company. So I had no boss. I'd been there about 2.5 years. And I'm running this, I'm estimating it, managing it, turning it over, and then selling the next 2 phases to Trican Well Services, an oil company.
I know. We know Trican. I think
Trican.
they've sold and became somebody else already.
Maybe. So the guy's name was Frank Zamora. I'll never forget, because he goes, well, your boy Rash, David Rash, he's no longer with Harvey. So are we doing phases 2 and 3? I'm like, yeah, sure.
I guess.
Of course we are. And so, so I went and met with Frank and sat down and went through the budget that I put together.
And you weren't getting paid enough. That's for sure.
Well, right.
Like I'm selling 2, 3 phases.
Yes. So, and managing them and making money on them. And so I checked all the boxes. I was, very profitable. And I had a review coming up, and my boss's boss walks into the review, sits down and goes, and I'm sitting there, man, I'm ready. I want the promotion.
Yeah.
Everybody knows this, right? I want to be a PM, and I am being a PM. And looking back, I see his point, but at the time, I'm a kid, and he's like, opens the meeting with, well, you're not getting a promotion. I went, well, that's a strange way
without a conversation first?
That's a strange way to open the meeting. Like, what do you mean? Like, okay. Like, he's like, well, yeah. I'm like, isn't this your list that you put together? He's like, yeah. I'm like, well, I've checked it off. Do you disagree with any of that? And he goes, oh, no, you do all that stuff. I'm like, so what's the deal? And he's like, well, you don't look old enough. And I'm like, that's it?
Really? That's the thing? That's discrimination.
I was like, can I grow a goatee? Like, you know what I mean? And he's like, yeah, you just need some more time and you just don't look old enough. I'm like, people aren't going to take you seriously. I'm like, man, I just sold 3 jobs.
That is like, crazy.
Okay. So that just kind of rubbed me the wrong way, right?
Yeah.
So I started putting feelers out, and I got another offer from the largest GC in the world, not so much in Houston.
Mm-hmm.
Houston was definitely dominated by Harvey, but Turner Construction was the largest GC in the world that year, and often is revenue-wise. They're a huge international firm. And they hired me and gave me the promotion to PM and all that. So I jumped ships for that, which in retrospect was probably an immature thing to do, right? And then I couldn't stand it over there. They were too big, too corporate, was not for me.
Yeah.
And so the guy that had left Harvey to go to EE Reed kept calling me like every couple of months going, hey man, you're not going to like it over there. When you're ready to jump, come over here and follow me to Reed. So eventually after about 8 months or so, I was like, okay, I'm ready. Like maybe.
And this was a smaller company, more like.
It was number 4 in Houston. So smaller than, Turner was being the one in the middle was the biggest.
Yeah.
Harvey's been the biggest in Houston, and region typically at the time about number 4 on the list. They were doing about $250 million a year. Harvey at the time was doing $500 million and was just landed the big Exxon campus. I think that got them to the $1 billion mark, and now they're a $2 billion company. EE Reed's pretty much stayed at $250 million, and with him over there, they got bigger revenues because he's quite a salesman. But then after about 4.5 years of us working there, he went back to Harvey, and that's when I started WC. So the whole deal.
What made you think that like you could start a one, because that's not just, that seems really difficult to just be like, I'm gonna do this, or I feel like you have to be a little delusional in life to be successable and to believe that you can do all these things. But how did you wake up one day and started to put a plan together? How did that even come to be?
So a couple things. I have a cousin who is a boxer, and that's what he did. And then when he sort of aged out of that, he got into development. And so he would buy 300, 400, 500 acres east of 45 up north and build neighborhoods or build YMCAs or whatever. And he was doing that for somebody. And then eventually, and I remember him telling this one, people say things for me, like certain things stick real hard, right? And this was one of them. He was like, well, I did it for, 5 years or 7 years or whatever it was. And I thought, man, I can do this. And so I just started doing it. And then now he's got 2 planes and does really well. So that stuck. And of course, my family was all entrepreneurial. So that was always kind of there. I got the business minor. So the sort of thought was, hey, and we even talked about my parents, like, you can go do this. You can learn how to do it. Yeah. You can do it yourself maybe later, whatever kind of thing. So it was just sort of on the parking lot, but it was always a thought. Hurricane Harvey hit, and I was trapped in my house for 3 days. Couldn't go anywhere. And I was bored, honestly. And I thought, I bet I could start a residential thing because people are going to need stuff, you know, all our
After
houses were
this,
flooding.
yeah.
And I know some residential contacts. And so I can do that kind of on the side and just, you know, find some people to kind of manage it and just sort of be over it. And so I sort of just kind of put the infrastructure together. I built the server. I got a website. I just kind of put all the stuff there. And then I don't think I ran any ads or something. I don't know what I did. I know I advertised a little bit somehow because I remember going on a couple calls, you know, walks and stuff. And then really quickly it was like, man, residential is just not my thing. I didn't really want to do anything. So I put this stuff, WC Construction, together and just kind of just stopped right after that.
And you went back to work, to your normal.
Well, I mean, I never stopped working, but
Okay.
then when
But you went back to like, okay, I'm not going to start this thing. I'm just going to go back to my career.
And that was maybe a month later. Then I got a call that said, hey, I need a big demising wall built in a warehouse because I'm moving. I got this big empty shell and we're going to start cutting it up for tenants to move in. Can you do that? I'm like, okay, sure. I mean, that's something easy I can do in my sleep. I set that up. Got another call. Hey, we got another tenant that moved in over here. They need some bathrooms and stuff. I'm like, okay. And then that was kind of going on. And I was sitting here thinking at the same time on the music side of things, I had been in bands. I had been writing. Was in a duo. Had a couple songs on the radio. We were touring. I had met Keith Urban and Sting's manager, and he was working with me. Wired Easterling took me to Nashville. I was doing music, going to Nashville and LA, like and radio tours. Like I would take my 2 weeks vacation and go on the road. Like I never stopped music, by the way.
Okay.
Like, so after I graduated, I instantly formed a band in Houston, was playing every weekend, sometimes 4 or 5 times a week while working 50, 60 hours at Harvey, Turner, Reed.
How was that? How did the companies take it? Because I know sometimes in the corporate world, like I had a podcast for the longest time.
They didn't like it.
Yeah, they didn't like it either. Okay.
Turner didn't care because Turner was a big party, but Harvey and Reed, the more serious ones, they did not like it.
They did not like it.
They would scout my Twitter feed and my Instagram. And
like he was in LA on Friday. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I got in trouble about that a lot.
Maybe that's why you didn't get your promotion. He was like, he's too young and he's a singer. He's really not that interested in growing in this company.
Yeah. It was tough to juggle him and there was a lot of scrutiny.
Yeah.
But you know, I was good at my job.
But you continued.
So that was my thing.
Yeah.
I was like, I mean, I get it done and I make money. So,
yeah.
You know, and I also was like, man, you know, I firmly believe that you didn't need to drive to sit between someone else's 4 walls to do what I could do in these 4 walls and like kind of on my own schedule.
Agree.
So, and that stuff started to come out at the woodwork, especially at the last place at Reed. And so it was, you know, I was pissing them off and they were pissing me off.
Yeah.
And so finally I left Reed and I talked to my mom about it. I'm like, look, I'm gonna need some help because, you know, I've got my daughter. At the time she didn't live with me, but it was every other weekend and summers. I need some help with that. I may need some help. I may need some help financially, but I really want to go after this music thing. And it's not working out here with
the construction thing.
Deal, so I'm just going to set that down and go all in on music because I'm 27, 28, whatever it was. And she said it's
like now or never.
Yeah.
You've been kind of, you've been doing it on the side for years and it's like, I'm going to go all in.
Right. She said, okay. So I moved in with her. I filed for unemployment, right? So I got whatever that pays, a little bit of money. And I played music sometimes 6 nights a week, as much as I could, just locally for, you know, a few $100 a night, you know, $200, $300, $400 a night. I mean,
just trying to get yourself out there.
Nights, and for money and whatever, right?
Yeah.
And I'd save that money up and I'd fly to LA and go write, record. I'd go to Nashville, write and record. And then, like I said, you know, I was getting those calls about construction, like, hey, can you build a wall? Can you build this? Can you build a wedding venue? Like little things started. And when I say little things, I mean, they were stuff that I would pocket 20, 30,000 you know, in a month or two. And I'd have this money and then I'd go use it for the music thing. Right. And so I was doing both again. Right.
You like tried to leave, but it like kept bringing you in.
My phone just kept ringing.
Yeah.
I had working for those companies that I had and on the teams that I had worked with and being good at my job, I had developed a reputation with subcontractors, with clients, you know, just kind of with everybody. And so my phone would ring. I mean, and that's honestly the first at least 2 or 3 years of the company, it was usually somebody screwed something up. We need you to come fix it. That's really how it started. And then, but even to date, I have never done much in the way of outward marketing, external marketing. I mean, we're just now at the point where we've gone from a, $10, $12 million company to a $25 million company. And we want to go to a $40 million company in the next couple of years. So we are having to do more out, going out and hunting, but I've never hunted. It's just my phone has rang.
That's really good. Just kind of that reputation. But then I think as you scale, now you go play with the big guys, and now it's all about, yeah. No, but that's really cool that it was all through just reputation, and then you trying to do music, but it's kind of calling and pulling you back. When did you officially kind of say, okay, I'm going to go all in now on WCC and actually structure the company and
late 2017, technically filed all the paperwork January of 2018. It happened pretty fast because I was at Reed until maybe August of 2017.
Okay. So 6 months later.
Yeah, if that, right? Yeah. So it was a pretty quick transition. But it was just because, we did $1 million in revenue year one. It was like, let's, and at the time when it's just you and there's no overhead, you're pocketing a good chunk of that.
Yeah.
So I had a good year. And then the next year was, 3.5 or whatever. It was growing fast. So then it became, okay, so how do I manage the music thing? And that's when I, started the record label, and I hired all of the publicists. I hired the manager. I had a manager and booking agents and A&R and, just all those pieces, but under the umbrella of Wayback Records is what I called it. And so I could maintain control. Right. And if I needed to be off,
there was no rule.
Right? There was no rule. I had full control. Honestly, as now it's taken a big shift to where it's less of a distraction, according to my employer. Yeah. And it's actually been cohesive, right? Because now, we're finding that it's a talking point, when I'm talking to clients. It's so smart to use it, in my opinion. Right. It's not something I have to keep quiet because my boss is going to get mad. Yeah. It's like, hey, this is what I do. And not only that, that project engineer, he's a guitar player, and the estimator, he's a fiddle player. Yeah. No, I think it's super cool. So I think it just shows, clients or customers that there's so much more to WCC than just construction. And I think that's how humans connect anyways. It's we need to get this thing built and I need you, but I'm into music or I'm into arts or country. And so there's all these other ways that you can pull, clients. And I think people want to work with people that they like. Of course, I do. Right. It's okay, cool. He can sing a song. I'll choose him and, to run my construction. If you're trying to pick between 3 to 5 general contractors, it's all in every industry. It's about what makes XYZ stand out, right? A, B, C, or D stand out, right? So that's definitely something that stands out. So now Will Carter Band. When did that officially start? Because you've done a few different things. You did a duo. When did that start? And that's your current band today, right? It is. Yes, that was 2021. Okay. And how many people are in it? 5. Band. Yeah, 5 musicians. Of course, we got. How did you guys, did you play with them in the past, or this was a new band together? So my bass player, back when I was, even when I was 100 Miles Gone, I hired a bass player. 100 Miles Gone was a duo I was in right before I went and did Will Carter as a solo artist for 5 years, and then rebranded as Will Carter Band. The bass player came from a band called Infinity's Twin, which is fronted by a fiddle player that's the lead singer and all that. He's frontman. And they're a rock band, really, really cool band and really great band. His bass player joined 100 Miles Gone. And so that's how I kind of met Bino's name. And then fast forward several years now, it's Will Carter. And the bass player is filling in when I'm not playing with one of his other bands that he has started. So he's got Infinity's Twin, which is kind of a rock band. And then he started Born and Bred. He's like, man, Bino started this country cover band so he can play country gigs. And he started this Bryce Crispy thing, so he can play 80s gigs. And anyway, but the country band is great. And we used to come see him, man, he's got this, we were looking for guitar players. He's got this guitar player. He's a really good looking guy, fantastic guitar player. Doesn't even use pedals. It just does it all and makes it sound phenomenal. Just him. Talented, he's just fantastic. I'm like, okay. So like, let me see a video. And at the same time, our drummer was about to move to Florida. So we were kind of having fill-ins, and I'm watching the video and I'm like, yeah, the guitar player is great. Good looking kid. And I'm like, man, the drummer is a good looking kid and he's a fantastic drummer and he sings really well too. I was like, man, like I want the drummer. And so I ended up talking to Bino, and Bino's the fiddle player. And of course I'm like, I need a fiddle player,
Yeah.
or a country band. He's like, well, what about this? Born and Bred is their country cover band. The same group of guys is also Will Carter Band. And then when we go on the road together, we can open for Will Carter Band, and we have one bus, one set of, one block of hotel rooms, this one band to feed. We get paid twice, and we have two bands.
Okay. So that's kind of how it came to be.
Yeah. And so I cut a deal with him. And so basically that band, I already had the bass player, added him and his guitar player and his drummer, and we all just sort of combined
Came
forces
together.
And so now that same band plays in 3 different bands. They're always playing.
That's cool.
Always playing together. So, I mean, you can finish.
And is this their full-time jobs? Or does everybody have like their own?
Everybody had their own thing.
Everyone
The
has
fiddle
their own
player,
thing.
he owns a couple bars. He owns Pub Fountain, the 529. Bass player at the time worked for the city county clerk or district clerk or something like that. Drummer at the time was working for the school system. And I think the guitar player maybe was full-time music, or maybe he drove for Amazon or something like that. For a little bit. But
it's hard to be full-time
It's
music.
tough,
A lot of people always have like that double life
You
of
kinda
when
have
you're
to.
trying to.
you
Yeah.
kind of have to. Since then, the bass player moved on, and we've got another bass player who's actually a Venezuelan refugee, but he's legal now.
Good to know. Okay.
Just saying that. He's fantastic. He's classically trained. He's phenomenal. He is the only one currently that doesn't work for the construction company. So since then, all of them have left their other side gigs.
And they work for
and
WC
work for
Carter?
WC Construction, yes.
WC Carter. WC Construction. Okay.
So the fiddle player, estimator, the guitar player, project engineer, the drummer started as a project engineer and fantastic. And then now we're teaching him estimating too. So the only one that doesn't is Carlos, the bass player, which he's asked. I just don't know where to put him right now.
That is so cool. And I know your sisters, 2 of them work as well in
And my mom.
the company, and the mom.
And
Okay.
mom.
Tell me how that is, because I think a lot of people always say like, don't work with family.
Yeah.
Don't mix family and business,
Sure.
but it's worked out
That's
for
the
you
right
guys.
answer.
Okay.
I mean, that's the default right answer. It works well here. And I think it's just because of our specific situation, upbringing.
You guys grew up and lived
loss of my
and
father.
went to school together, and like that
Right.
unit.
We're very close.
Mhm.
And then losing my father forced us all to get even closer.
Get
We've
together.
had to take care of each other forever. And I've kind of been, his replacement, right,
Mhm.
in that regard. And so with them joining my company and my thing, you know what I mean? Like, it's just
That
kind of
is
how we've
so cool.
always been. And I would tell you that even then, it's not perfect. It's still tough sometimes.
Yeah.
But I specifically do a very good job, I feel, of compartmentalizing, which you
Mhm.
have to be able to do.
Separating business and family.
You're my mom at 5, but before 5, you're not my mom. You're Pam's employee. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and Pam, like, same thing. So we have to do that. And
Mhm.
I'm just naturally good. I think men maybe are a little bit better at that.
Yeah.
But I'm good at that. And then also, just our specific situation with how our family was structured and whatever, I think really plays into that. It's definitely not, I wouldn't suggest it for anyone, but there are pros, right? I mean, it works well for us, and it could work because for others, you get a trust with your family members that you can't rely on. You have reliability and dependability and stuff like that, and flexibility, so there's some pros.
Yeah.
Of course, the cons is, your family. So, and the other thing that I feel like I do well, but it's because I purposely make it a point that I make them work harder and get paid less than anybody else.
Mhm.
They have to earn it 3 times as hard to get it, because I don't ever want that to be discourage other people from wanting to come here, because I'm terrified of the nepotism thing, right?
Yes.
So Summer, for example, was the first family member to come and work for me, and I paid her $13 an hour, and I made her go live on a job site, and she would call my mom crying, going like, I don't think I can do this. And mom's like, man, just tough it out. Give it 90 days, give it 90 days, give it 90 days. I put her through the ringer on purpose. And she's a lot stronger for it. And, she wasn't handed it. She had to earn it. I'm giving you an opportunity. you got to earn it, and I'm going to make you earn it a lot harder than anybody else, right? Because I have to.
You have to. You definitely have to. We interviewed this gentleman, Nick Johnson, and his father started Willis Johnson and Associates, and he's now the president of it. And he came to work with his dad right after college. He must have been like 22, but he did not want to work for his dad. And so he went to work with his dad, and it was that everybody knows that this is my dad, that I got the job because it's my dad. You got to fight that. And he said for like 10 years, that was his biggest holdback and kind of imposter syndrome of, I'm just here because my dad gave me this job. Mm-hmm. But, it took him all this years to be like, no, I've earned it. And he worked his way up. And now he's the president of it. But he put in blood, sweat, and tears. But his biggest thing was like, I never want people to think that I just got the job because my dad owned the company. Right. So I totally feel, and for employees too, who that is so difficult. It's tough. And, joining Midnight, obviously, Tim's really good at that, where he's like, I'm talking to you right now as an employee. Yeah. And that sometimes is like messed up for me because I'm like, whoa, don't talk to me like that. I am not your husband right now. When he's like mad or something. And I'm like, okay.
I honestly think that would be harder.
Yeah.
That would be harder. I was in some bands with some girls that I dated. And one of the things I loved about my wife when we first met was that she was not in music.
Nothing
not in
to
construction.
Yeah.
Like she's an OB-GYN. I'm like, that's great. And she can't sing. She has no musical talent, doesn't want it, loves music.
Yeah.
But
she'll never be in the band with you.
Right.
Okay.
Because I did that and that didn't work.
Yeah. Sometimes that's interesting, but I think it's cool that you guys are able to make it work and just be able to grow this company that you have today and have your siblings part of it and your mom. That's special. I think to be able to provide that for them as well.
I think it is the ultimate if it works out. I just feel like it, and I think it will. I'm confident it'll work out for me. I just mean in general. Yeah. If you're writing a rule book, it's don't hire a husband and wife, don't hire family members. You know what I mean?
All the don'ts. Yeah.
You can, but it's challenging. But it can be more. Again, I think it can be more rewarding because when we first hired my mom, it was because we needed someone in ARAP, and that is where money disappears. Mm-hmm. So you have to have somebody you
really trust
and can count on and is paying attention, right? Mm-hmm. And my mom's very type A and organized. So and I trust
she
her.
Homeschooled 4 kids. I think she's fine. She's well qualified for this.
She's there for that reason. You know what I mean?
I love it. Okay, to kind of transition and end the podcast a little bit, tell me a little bit about the rebrand, your new website. You are launching a new office. Like, what do people need to know that's happening? Because I think that's super exciting to go from, I think you said you made your logo on Fiverr.
During Hurricane Harvey.
I think like the buildup of this company to now where, you're going to that 40 million plus a year. It will happen and more, it's just what's cool now about the fact that you're like actually going into marketing and taking it to the next level? You're building a new office. Like so many cool, exciting things are happening.
Yeah. So my first project when I got out of school was for new field exploration, oil and gas company in the Woodlands. And I did primarily oil and gas office build outs in the Woodlands for most of my career, or for my whole career with Harvey. And then even after, I've always had stuff going on in the Woodlands. So I started, and everything I've done in my life has sort of been grassroots. That's the only way I know is go grind.
Yeah.
And I'm resilient and I work hard, and that's all I know. So kind of formed this the same way. I started the company in a bedroom, or during Hurricane Harvey, and got a logo on Fiverr and just built a server on Dropbox, and we are now, we're the contractor in the Woodlands. Like if it's in the Woodlands, our name is associated with it. It's talked about, whatever. We've got at least a shot at it, whatever. In order to grow past, again, we hit just under 25 million this past year. We're projecting 28 next and want to be close to 40 in the next 2 or 3. We have to expand. Like it's been one of our selling points that we don't send our guys out on the road, because I like to sleep in my own bed, and they do too. And we actually have a lot of employees that have come here because they got tired of the travel thing. So we try to keep our radius to within like 100 miles of Houston, so that people can sleep in their own bed at night, right, and see their families. But we have to expand outside of just the Woodlands. We kind of started there, and we've done we've done work in that entire 100-mile radius, but our core has been the Woodlands. And so the idea was to move into town. And at the same time, it's kind of like we're starting over in a sense. We've sort of built, and we
that
have
reputation needs to be
foundation.
now. Yeah.
Now we've got to expand that reputation out. And so we're building the office in the design center as part of it. We've engaged Midnight Marketing as part of it, is to tell everybody in Houston and who we are. And again, the Woodlands is a fantastic market, and I started there for a reason because I love it, and we'll never let go of it. But it's only so big, right?
Yeah.
So in order to grow, and our 10-year goal is to be north of 100 million, right? So 125 million specifically, and so we have to. We're going
to have to take over all of Houston and then Texas.
We need the same name recognition that we have in the Woodlands, in more places.
Got it. So people should be looking for a new look and feel, a new brand.
Yeah. Absolutely.
A new office.
New office.
Where is it? You said it was going to be in the city?
It's right at 610 and I-10 in the Houston Design Center.
Okay. Yes. Where we met. Okay. That's where the new office is.
That's where, it'll be right next door to where we met. So our neighbor is letting us kind of post up down there next door. We're building out the space next to his.
Nice.
And then we're going to put a big operable wall so that we can combine the two and have big parties. I mean, because the other issue with the Woodlands is nobody wants to drive to the Woodlands that's not in the Woodlands, and nobody that's in the Woodlands wants to leave the Woodlands.
Yes.
So it's like its own little island right there. Yeah. So the way it's working right now is we're, March 15th is our occupancy date for the Houston Design Center office. And then the Woodlands is going to be primarily the operations office. So our VP of Ops sort of offices there and runs that. And then the design center office will be more of a sales and showroom, right? So there's a large project coming to Houston that we have strategically put the same furniture and things in so that architects can bring clients by and show their products.
That is
so it's
cool.
going to be a showroom. And then our estimators and BD and marketing will all be at that office. At least that's the plan for now, because that's the point of that office, right? It's to sort of tell everybody who we are in Houston and give them somewhere to come that's not in the Woodlands that they want to show up to. And then the idea of the operable wall, so we can combine our space with our neighbor's space.
That is so cool.
Have large, like we're doing a big Astros season kickoff party. We're going to be hosting the Milestone whiskey tasting event there. So the
idea, going to be build a community around.
We're going to build a community there, and
building.
That's why we chose the design center. It's an awesome location, and they're already doing that there. Like there's an us versus them big barbecue cook-off in October that happens there. There's just a lot of events that happen there already. Just the location's fantastic. I mean, you can even to the Woodlands, you can get anywhere in like 20, 25 minutes, right? You hop on 290, hop on 610, hop on the tollway over I-10. It's just in a good spot.
Nice. So a lot of exciting things happening. New brand, new website, new marketing. I'm excited. I think it's going to be so cool to look back at just the evolution. I think that's like the best part of when you're building a company. It's to go back and think that, 5-6 years ago in a bedroom, you thought of this idea and like where it is today. And that is so cool. Not many people get to experience that. So I think that's super cool.
Well, I obviously love that. It's also kind of one of the things that I love about, probably my favorite part about construction is the before
building.
And after.
Yeah.
It's like
nothing here.
This is what you had, or it's nothing. If it's new construction or if it's a remodel, it's like, like for example, we just finished and we just got an award from the Urban Land Institute for the historical redevelopment of the Grogan's Mill Shopping Center in the Woodlands, which is an old rundown, there's a Randall's there and been some retail spaces and whatever. And we
renovated everything,
ripped the roof and the face off of this whole center. It's 3 buildings, and put a very modern, wood slats and integrated LED lighting and
nice.
It looks fantastic. But the transformation is unbelievable because it went from this ugly rundown. It's in a great spot, and it's right in the heart of the community. They do a farmer's market there every Saturday. I mean, it's a fantastic spot. It just needed
a little like 2026.
It needed a makeover, and we were able to give it a fantastic makeover. Very proud of it. In fact, I got to take my family there last weekend to go and check it out, enjoy it, and do the farmer's market and all that. But yeah, those kind of transformations that's just what gets me excited, right?
Yeah.
So again, to your point, doing the same thing for the company is something I've been chomping at the bit for. I think we started talking to you guys maybe early January.
Let's go.
We got to get this done. So I'm excited.
I love it. Okay, to end the podcast, I always ask all my guests one question, and it is, what does success look like to you? What does success in life look like to you?
In life?
Mm-hmm. Or for you, what does success look like?
Success. I would say to have a big family, a lot of kids, everybody's healthy and happy, and I'm able to provide for them anything that they specifically need, and hopefully some wants too. And I've been able to do it while balancing my time, at work versus with them. Being able to give them my time as well, because it's equally, if not more important for me to be able to spend time with them, not just give them, not just provide for them, right? That would be my answer.
I love that. I love that you mentioned family and spending time with them. I think that's super cool. I think when somebody asked me what success was, I kind of mentioned the same thing of just being able to like go pick up my daughter in the middle of the day and take her to the park with my husband or something. Like that's success to me versus really anything else. It's like just that time and freedom to be able to enjoy that when they're young and be present. So I think that's super
100%.
cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Are you going to sing me a song?
I will.
I want the water tower.
You want the water? You don't want the water tower.
I do.
Not acoustic. You gotta have the rock and the setup for the water tower.
Okay. I need to come see that one live then.
Come see that one live. You gotta do something a little more chill for this set.
Okay.
So we're gonna reset and pause. Or
yes.
Work? All right. Cool. We'll be back. This one is a song that was really cool. I wanted a daughter song. So I have 2 daughters. Ooh. And so I did the music video to this, got the idea one night. I got to write it and have it produced by Trent Willman, who has been Cody Johnson's manager and producer and whatever for a long time. And Trent's fantastic and he's talented. So a couple of us guys rode up in the Sprinter up to Nashville and wrote a song with Trent, wrote a song with Clay Mills, hung out in Nashville for a little bit, went to Trent's ranch. And it's the first time we met him and we sat in the kitchen and wrote this song. And actually had him fly down to Texas and produce it later. Wow. So on the album, we've got 3 songs that we had Trent produced, and then the rest we produced here locally with Chad Malden. But it was, midnight, 1 a.m, whatever. And we had gone to the studio and I hadn't gotten to hear anything back yet, right? And my daughter Grace had woke up in the middle of the night. She was like, I don't know, maybe 2 months old or something like that. And so I remember going in there to pick her up. I'm holding her, change her, whatever, make her a bottle. And then I'd see an email from Trent at like midnight that night with the first cut of, the set, right? The song. So I'm like, oh, cool. So I'm going to listen to it. So I had headphones in and I'm playing it and I'm holding her. I'm listening to it and I'm just kind of dancing with her. And I had the lights, real low. And I was like, man, this would be the perfect daughter song. And I would like to have it sort of show the progression of she's a baby right now. So get some footage, right, of this, like recreate this moment. And then some footage of her when she's, like a toddler, like kind of growing up. And then I have a 21-year-old daughter who was actually getting married a couple months later.
Did you play at her wedding?
And I thought, no, I didn't. But I had the video team come do the wedding video. Yeah. And then we got footage of that so that we could tie all of this together of she's I'm dancing with her when she's a little baby.
That is so cute.
Then she's a toddler growing up and we're hanging out like on the property and whatever. And now she's getting married. And basically leaving you, right? And starting her own life and all that kind of stuff. So get the whole kind of progression for it. And we did that. And I love how it came out. And in fact, we just got picked up by, I don't know if it was American Country News, whatever, some big video outlet just picked it up last week.
And this is on YouTube?
It's on YouTube, yeah.
Okay. What do we have to type in to find it? Holding on?
Holding on.
Okay, we're all going to cry. You're making me cry already.
This is country.
Sarah's going to cry.
This is country.
She loves Sky. She's Sky's aunt.
So for this application, are we playing the whole thing or what are we doing here?
Whatever you want.
All right, cool. Well, this is Holding On.
I love that.
The song to timeless classic, just like the way you look tonight. Girl, you cast your spell like magic and got me hypnotized. I feel my heart going all in. Like I've lost all control. You're all that's keeping me from falling, and I ain't letting go. And as I spin you around this dance floor, girl, I know that I'm not the one that's leading. It's plain to see you got this heart of mine, racing like a million Mustangs. And baby, I don't know where this dance is going. I'm just holding on. I can't see into the future, but baby, looking into your eyes, get this crazy feeling I'm gonna be in for one hell of a ride. And as I spin you around this dance floor, girl, I know that I'm not the one that's leading. It's plain to see you got this heart of mine, racing like a million Mustangs. And baby, I don't know where this dance is going. I'm just holding on. I feel my heart going all in, like I've lost all control. You're all that's keeping me from falling, and I ain't letting go. And as I spin you around this dance floor, and girl, I know that I'm not the one that's leading. It's plain to see you got this heart of mine, racing like a million Mustangs. And baby, I don't know where this dance is going, where this dance is going. Don't know where we're going. I'm just holding on. I'm just holding on. I'm just holding on.
Wow, that was incredible.
Thank you.
How is this live?
How is this at 11 in the morning?
No, your voice live?
Wow.
Yeah, you sound edited.
Ah, well,
It's like watching your lips move. Like, that was crazy.
No, just the sound that comes out of your mouth is,
Literally.
I cannot sing at all. Like
Wow.
I'm the worst singer on planet Earth.
Incredible.
I'll tell you one of my least favorite times to sing is anytime before like 7 p.m.
Really?
Yeah, you kind of wake up throughout the day and get into it.
This is
That was so
amazing.
The vibe in here is cool, so that helps. But yeah, sometimes we'll do like, so we're doing the Great Day Houston thing here in April, and they'll have us on, and we have to be there like 5 a.m. And then you're on the set doing an interview, and then you're performing
Right after?
full band. Yeah, it's like 7 a.m. You're like, this. We should just stay up so that we're still awake for this, not try to wake up.
Wow.
Wow.
No,
Oh my
cool.
gosh. And he's running a full construction company.
Incredible.
Isn't that crazy?
It's a
That
lot
is
of fun.
Cool.
It's
I love
fun.
the song. It's now I didn't know it, but now that you sang it, I'm like I've heard of it
Yeah.
on your page. The spin you around, like that one's
Mhm.
such a catchy portion of it.
Well, check out the video too. That's that I'm not gonna say I directed it because I don't really know if that's completely accurate. but the vision behind it,
The
I had a
idea.
lot of input in it because that was very personal. I wanted it specifically to capture the baby and then the toddler,
That
and
is
then
so cool.
incorporate my property with it. So there's much shots of us out on the property where I grew up, where we're kind of looking at it and running around out in the field with four-wheelers and all that kind of stuff. And then capturing the footage at my daughter's wedding.
Yeah.
So we actually used, my baby Grace for the baby, and then my sister Pam's daughter Aurora for the toddler.
The toddler phase.
And then my daughter Kylie for the wedding phase. And so technically it's supposed to be Kylie the whole time.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. No one will know. No one knows. Oh, that is so cool. No, that is amazing. Yeah, very cool. I think definitely involving this with the construction. Like every time you guys finish a project, you get a Will Carter van out there, like as a thank you, or I don't know. Like
It's funny.
that would be cool.
My landlord in the Woodlands, so we office some Research Forest Lakeside. And I've done a lot of construction in all of those buildings, and office buildings and the retail strips. And they just built like a green space. So there's like a pavilion with barbecue pits and serving counters and tables and chairs and all that kind of stuff. And pickleball courts and like these like outdoor fitness gym area
okay,
thing.
That's cool. I didn't know.
So when they did the opening, they said, hey, we want to invite all the different companies, Repsol and CP Chem and everybody to come down at like 11, 11:30, 12, 12:30, kind of stage them. And they're going to have Damaris barbecue and feed everybody, just kind of show them the new green space, they call it. And we want your band to play, and this is my landlord who I also do construction for.
So cool.
So he's hiring the band. So we're out there, in wearing our WC construction polos, but we're performing, right? And then from that, like Repsol hired us to do their Christmas party, and he's like, "We're going to take you guys
That
to
is
Alaska."
so
And
cool.
we're like,
Yes.
"We'll go to Alaska, pay for the airfare."
That is so cool.
So it definitely does sort of feed off
Yeah.
of each other and become more cohesive.
I think it's super cool. No, I love it. It's super cool. Thank you so much for coming. I'm
Hey, thank you
excited
for
to
having
see
me.
the podcast.
I am
and
too.
Yeah,
Yeah, this was fun.
It'll be super cool.